Welcome back to another episode of Backyard Bushcraft. You guys asked if we could do a video on sharpening, so that's the plan for today. Thanks Aoife for suggesting this video. I went and I scrounged around and I found a Bushcraft Black that's in dire need of some TLC. So what I'll do is I'll show you some different methods to try and clean a knife and how to sharpen one in the field. So step one, we're going to try clean the blade. So there's plenty of ways to do that, and there's tons of different stuff you can use. You can use stuff like these, which are basically wire brushes, or if you don't have any of those, you can use some household wire wool. One of my favorite things to use is called a Gariflex block. So these are basically just a steel abrasive block, and they work fantastically well on knives. Let's get to it. So now that our blade is nice and clean, we're going to move on to the next step, which is sharpening. So sharpening can be super easy, but there are tons of products out there that you can use. I'm going to talk you through a couple that I use on the regular and I really enjoy. So let's do that next. So one of the factors that will help you choose which stone to use is how much work the blade needs. If you need to do a lot of sharpening and take a lot of steel material off, you're going to choose something like a file. A file is going to take up a lot of steel and help you correct a lot of damage. If it's not so bad and you just want to sharpen it up, you can get stuff like whetstones. They tend to come in tons of different grits, which means you can go from really coarse to really fine and get a fantastic edge. The ones that we tend to use in the woodland is some pocket stones like this. So this is like an Arkansas stone that's got a really fine grit, so I can get a good edge on it. And this here is called a DC4. This is one of the most common stones we use in the woods. It's got two sides, so it's got a coarse diamond side and a really fine ceramic side. And what that means is you can do a lot of work to get some big dings out, but you can also get a really fine edge. Let's do that next. So based on the damage on this knife, I've decided to go with the DC4, and I'm going to use both the coarse side and the smooth side. So I like to use a little bit of honing oil when I sharpen, so I just put some oil on the stone. And the main key when sharpening it is to keep the correct bevel angle. So this shiny piece over here, that's the bevel. So I want to make sure that every time I stroke the blade on the sharpening stone, I keep that same angle. So what I do is I put it down on the stone, I roll it forward until I set it to that bevel angle, and then I nice and gently roll all the way through. So I do about 8 strokes forward and then do the reverse and come towards me. So remember, this whole time I'm putting a tiny bit of pressure on and I'm trying my hardest to keep that bevel angle the same the whole time. So now that I've taken this knife and I've sharpened it on the coarse side enough until I'm happy with the edge, I'm going to flip the stone over and I'm going to use the smoother ceramic side and I'm going to put a refined edge on it. So our last step is we're going to really hone the edge of the blade and we're going to absolutely polish it with a strop. So you get tons of different types of strops. The most common is a piece of wood with a little bit of leather on it, and you get different stropping compounds. I like to use this Tormek one, and it's really good because what it does is it acts as a really light abrasive and it basically polishes your edge to get it ultra sharp. So that's our blade, nice and sharp. A really simple test is you can just take a bit of paper, see if it'll free cut straight through it, and that's good to go. One of the things to do before you put your blades away is make sure you give them a little bit of oil so that they don't rust, but that is how you maintain a knife. So thanks for joining us for another episode of Backyard Bushcraft. Hopefully now you can keep your blades nice and sharp and ready to go. We'll see you next time.